Good evening. We want to welcome you to Getting to the Point. Tonight, we want to look at a passage just tucked in Mark chapter 6. And I'm going to begin reading at verse 45 and reading down through verse 52. Immediately, he made his disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side, to Bethsaida, while he dismissed the crowd. And after he said goodbye to them, he went away to the mountain to pray. While well into the night, the boat was in the middle of the sea, and he was alone on the land. He saw them straining at the oars because the wind was against them. Very early in the morning, he came toward them walking on the sea and wanted to pass by them. When they saw him walking on the sea, they thought it was a ghost and cried out because they all saw him, were terrified. Immediately, he spoke with them and said, "Have courage, it's I, don't be afraid." When he got into the boat with them, and then the wind ceased. They were completely astonished because they had not understood about the loaves. Instead, their hearts were hardened. You know, you and I, many times, I believe what John Mark is trying to tell us about is in our relationship with the Lord, we just need to learn from the disciples what not to do and what to do. The first thing we need to remember to do is follow his directions. He is directing them to do something. He's directing them to get into the boat and then go to the other side and wait for him. And so many times you and I don't know what the Lord is trying to do, why he's asking us to do a particular ministry or to do a particular thing, but all we know is that we are to follow his direction. We see here is that the Lord knows because he's omnipresent. Not in this case, he is taking on human life here, but he is omnipotent. He is, here he is now causing a disturbance in some way or another because it says the wind was against them. Now, this is seasoned fishermen who had seen, I'm sure, rough seas before. But in this case, it must have been something really enormous because he noticed that they were really straining at the oars. They were really trying to keep it under control. And then not only did they have the disturbance of the sea and the wind, but it also finds them having something happening on the sea. Someone is walking on the water. When was the last time you saw somebody walking on water? I haven't ever seen it. And it says here, Jesus was just going to walk by them. I think that's a good sense of humor that he has. I don't know, but anyway, and they saw him and they thought it was a ghost and cried out. You almost wonder, how did they cry out? Like a bunch of girls? I don't know, but sometimes guys do. They scream out like the girl. But it says they saw him and they were terrified. They were in a dilemma. There was not only a disturbance, but they were in a dilemma. They had never seen anything like this before. And you and I, many times have things happen that really catch us off guard. It's a dilemma that we try to figure everything out. And we need then to just come to the place where we see the dependability of the Lord, because it says here, have courage. In other words, calm down. It is I. It's me. Don't be afraid. When you know that the Lord is there, we don't have to fear. God is in control, isn't he? Jesus does know what he's doing. He's the one that directed them to go across the other side. He knew what was going to happen. He knew what he could do, and he knew what would transpire. But notice the last thing here in this dependability aspect. It says, then he got into the boat, and when he got into the boat, the wind stopped. One of the disturbances was taken care of, and the other one was taken care of. What was the one thing here? Well, you found out who was walking on the water. But the second thing, the wind stopped. As soon as they get in there, it stopped. But I thought this is quite interesting. They were completely astounded at what? Both things, I believe. But as they were astounded at both things, it was because they didn't understand it. They didn't grip the reality of what they had just previously seen. What was that? The feeding of the 5,000. That's what many times you and I miss. We miss God's working in other ways. We miss it. And so then we misunderstand the other things that God is trying to do right in the present. And that's what was happening with the disciples here. You and I can learn a lot from those men who were having a difficult time. May God bless you. You have a good evening.